Hey, before this video begins, I would like to say that you can email me at risewithproductions@gmail.com if you have any story submissions for me. Some of the stories here are actually from my email submissions. Also, our goal is 100,000 subs by the end of the year, and if we can hit that, that would be awesome. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to comment, let me know what you want next, and enjoy. Be good people. Okay, I am telling this story for the last and final time. This was in early 2016, while browsing the Google Play Store. I was listening to The Passenger by Iggy Pop. I was scrolling through the comments and I came across one that was eerie. It says something like this. Not an exact quote, but during screening of Batman: The Dark Knight Rises, you will finally see what I can do. You will hear me. I thought, how weird is this comment? I kept listening to the song and I took a screenshot of the comment. A while passed and I bought a new phone. Since then, all photos are gone now. And then I forgot about it until I was watching YouTube and saw a story on the Dark Knight Rises shooting. I then remembered the comment I saw on this song. I rushed back to download Google Play Store music, but by this time, Google already had been shutting down servers. I looked for hours to find this comment. Hours of looking through YouTube comments on that Iggy Pop song, hoping that the same comment was there. Nothing. I asked Reddit, and they downvoted my post and ridiculed me. I wrote into the likes of Wang and WebUFsurf and nothing. No reply. I swear to God, I saw this comment and nothing can change my mind. I'm starting to think the shooter left this comment to pre-warn about his horrific deed. The spooky thing is, that song actually appears in the Dark Knight Rises trailers I saw on YouTube. The user may have stumbled upon a comment made by the man named James Holmes. James Holmes, on July 20, 2012, committed a mass shooting that was a horrible atrocity that killed over 12 people and injured 70 others during a screening of The Dark Knight Rises. Holmes booby-trapped his apartment with explosives. He was arrested outside the theater wearing tactical gear. Prosecutors revealed he had meticulously planned the attack for months, purchasing weapons and ammunition legally. In 2015, he was sentenced to life in prison without parole, avoiding the death penalty due to his history of mental illness. The user may have witnessed James Holmes creating a review warning people about the shooting months in advance. I work at a hotel, and I've been watching a man on the cameras run on the hotel gym treadmill for hours. I work the graveyard shift at a small, usually mostly empty hotel just off the highway. The hours suck, obviously, but other than that, it's a pretty cushy job. I clock in, settle down in the back office, and watch downloaded movies or shows on my laptop. The connection sucks back there, but it's a place I can sit out of view of the guests and relax, so I just prepare accordingly. Periodically, I'll glance at the CCTV monitor hung on the wall in front of my desk. Mostly, it's just to see if there's anyone at the front desk that needs anything, or to see when my coworkers arrive in the morning so I can brush the Cheeto dust off my shirt and pretend like I wasn't half asleep only moments before they arrived. The camera shows several other areas of the hotel too. Each stairwell, several shots of the parking lot outside, and each exit door, the kitchen, laundry room, the lobby, and a few other areas. There's also a camera in the gym, but no one ever uses it. The hotel I work for isn't really known for their stellar cleanliness or functioning facilities. Our pool hasn't been open to guests in months, and our gym has like one functioning treadmill, a couple weights, and I think a pull-up bar. I've been working here for a few months, and I don't think I've ever been inside. Anyway, at about 2 a.m., 2 hours into my shift, I glance up from my show to check the cameras, and I notice that the light in the gym is on. The grainy footage shows a man, average looking, maybe on the older and fatter side, running on the one working treadmill. I don't recall checking him in, but I'm not the one who usually handles that stuff. Most people are in before my shift anyways. Whatever, I thought. I can hardly judge him. Looks like he's doing more exercise than I ever do. The one I go back to my show, getting up once to grab another bag of chips from the concession area. When I get back, I check the time, 2:32 a.m. The one instance of actual work I do starts at 3, when I run the nightly audit on the computers, so I have to start keeping track of the time more closely around then. I spare a glance towards the cameras, and I'm surprised to see the man is still running on the treadmill. Well, probably not still, right? Like, he probably took a break to do other workouts and now he's back to running. Or maybe he's been running this whole time. I don't know shit about exercise. In the crappy video quality, I could see that he was sweating pretty hard. His shirt was almost an entire shade darker, and his thinning hair was visibly slicked back. At the time, all I thought was, good for him, I guess. Maybe this old fat guy should be motivating me to start working out for real. I finish another episode before getting up to start the audit process, which usually takes me a couple minutes. Before I left the office, I checked the cameras again just because I didn't like being surprised by a guest waiting for me at the desk whenever I went up. My eye immediately caught onto the treadmill guy. Not just because he was still running, which was odd enough. It had been a full hour of, pretty sure, not stop running at a pretty quick pace for a guy like him. No, it's because this time he was staring right at me, straight at me. Well, not me, but the camera in the corner of the gym. I froze with locked eyes, even though I obviously knew he couldn't see me. He was dead-eyed, with a slack, exhausted expression on his face, and yet he was still running, his arms no longer swinging along with his run, but instead hanging limply at his sides. I stood there for a few good long seconds, confused and creeped out by what I was seeing. Right before I decided to write this guy off as a weirdo and turn away from the monitor to go do my job, he fucking smiled at the camera. I mean, this creepy, wide smile that didn't really reach his eyes. And the worst part was that his tongue just sort of limply flopped out of his mouth, as if the only thing holding it in was his closed lips. It just bounced around like he had no control over it, moving to the rhythm of his jog. It was also way too long. Like a normal tongue would just stay in a person's mouth if it was completely relaxed, right? Needless to say, I was really creeped out by this guy. I don't know how long he was staring at the camera in the corner or why he decided to smile as I started noticing him. Obviously, it was just weird timing, or he probably just decided to fuck with whoever might be watching the cams right at the moment that I looked up at him. Somewhere deep inside me, I felt like I was actually being watched. It was about to be 3 a.m., and I didn't have the audit done by 3:15. I'd get another write-up and probably yelled at by my boss, how it's literally the only thing I have to do all night. As anxious as this guy was making me feel, I didn't want to take my eyes off him in case... I didn't even know why, honestly. However, I swallowed my nerves, tore my eyes away from the screen, fast walked my way to the front desk with my mind made up to do the audit as quickly as possible. Let me describe the layout real quick here. The back office is around the corner from the front desk. Down the hallway, past the elevators, the lobby where we do the breakfast, the pool, and the laundry room is where the gym is. It's not the most well-designed hotel, and there's a few twists and turns leading to the gym at the other end of the first floor, making direct guests verbally an annoying task. That also meant that I stepped down to the front desk. I don't have a straight shot to be able to see the gym. On the one hand, I was relieved that I was kind of far away from the weirdo. On the other hand, I was even made more anxious that he was now no longer in my sight. I booted up the ancient computer and started printing reports, filing them away in various folders with one hand and signing stuff that needed to be signed with the other. I'm sure I got some stuff wrong, but my priority was finishing this quickly so I could return to the office. I felt exposed out here. I couldn't even see anything but the lobby, the sound of some pop radio playing way too loud, drowning out any other potential noise. Every second for the 10 minutes I was there felt like something really wrong was about to happen. I had to bring some of these reports back to the office to file them away while the audit process was running on the computers. And normally I just did this at the end of the process to not make any shipments back up. Okay. I had to bring some of the reports back to the office to file them away while the audit process was running on the computers. Normally I just did this at the end of the process to not make as many trips back and forth. And because as soon as the process ended, I had to update the system to roll over the next day. If I didn't do that part within a minute of the process editing, the whole thing would get fucked up. This time though, as soon as the computer started processing, I raced back to the office to check on the cameras again, if only just to confirm that he was still doing the same fucking thing. The first thing I noticed when I got back was that the light in the gym had turned off. I hadn't heard the heavy gym door open and close from the front desk, but maybe the stereo was just too loud to hear it. I began scanning the rest of the display, trying to find him on the way back to his room, in the stairwell or elevators or whatever, just to give myself some peace of mind. At first, I didn't see him anywhere in the cameras until my eyes glanced back at the gym display. It was subtle, but the dim light on the treadmill display that indicated that it was in use looked like it was still on. Thought that maybe he just forgot to turn it off when he left. And then I saw him. He was still in there, still running. I just hadn't seen him at first and it was dark. His body was barely lit by the treadmill, but that's not why I noticed him. His eyes were two pinpricks of light reflecting off the display, still staring directly at me. I choked back a gasp when I saw that. Why had the light shut off while he was still in there? They were motion sensors. Maybe if he was standing perfectly still, they'd turn off eventually. There he was, still running at the same pace. He was clearly exhausted, his whole body drooping forward as his arms swung back and forth, but his legs continued moving at the same speed as they were an hour ago. When I first noticed him, and his head was craned at an unnatural angle to keep staring at me. In the back of my mind, I considered that maybe this man needed help, some sort of mental illness thing that made him keep running, but my fear kept me rooted to the spot, not breaking eye contact. I still had the audit process to complete, but there was no way I was taking my eyes off him again. What the fuck? I muttered under my breath, but as the last word left my mouth, he suddenly stopped running and fell off the treadmill, landing headfirst onto the tile floor. The cameras didn't record sound, but I could swear I heard a crack. In my shock, it took way too long to react to the lights coming back on, and then him standing with his neck clearly broken, his head limp hanging backwards off of it. As soon as he stood, standing with his neck clearly broken and his head limping, hanging backwards off of it. As soon as he stood, he ran out of the room, passing the laundry camera, the pool, and making it halfway through the lobby before I broke out of my paralysis to run and slam the door of the office shut, locking it in the process. Slam against the door, shook the office 2 seconds after I closed it, and then another and another, like he was using his body as a battering ram. I looked back at the cameras, but there was none pointing directly at the back office entrance. The only thing I could see was the trail he left of blood and what looked like the shit all the way from the gym to the lobby. The entire room shook with the force of this fucking thing slamming against the door, and every call I tried to make to the police failed again and again. The door was heavy, but I did not have any faith in holding it up for that long if you kept going at this rate. I just kept looking back and forth between the door and the cameras, selfishly hoping that a guest would notice the commotion and draw his attention away from me. I don't know what would happen to them if they did, but at the moment I was only focused on getting the fuck out of that hotel. After a few minutes, 3 to be exact, the banging stopped. It took a second for me to notice, but once I did, my eyes shot to the monitor. He was definitely still there since there were no bloody footprints leading away from the back office. I wish I could forget just how long I stood there staring at the screen and willing it to show the thing walk away. But the display on the bottom right of the monitor showed me excruciating minutes, which is how I knew exactly what time another guest started making his way down a lobby. At 6:28 a.m., I noticed movement on the camera that was pointing at the 3rd floor elevator. A young man, dressed in workout clothes, carrying a gym towel. My heart sank and I began to think of ways to warn him or somehow prevent this thing from doing whatever it was trying to do. Could have pulled the fire alarm. I could have grabbed a chair or something to use as a weapon and jumped out at it. I could have at least stopped watching. I didn't do any of these things. I watched as the man entered the elevator at the 3rd floor, descended to the lobby. The second those elevators doors opened, the creature had just been standing in front of my office door for the past 3 hours and 18 minutes, made its move. With a speed I could barely keep up with over several camera displays, its mangled body ran perfectly on perfectly functioning legs towards the guest, slamming into walls and leaving a bloody imprint on them as it went. The guest made it 1 foot off the elevator before this thing tackled him back into it. I only saw a spray of blood hit the opposite wall as the elevator door closed again. The guest made it 1 foot off of the elevator before the thing tackled him back into it. I only saw a spray of blood hit the opposite wall as the elevator door slowly closed again. This was my chance to get the fuck out of the hotel and never look back. But again, I found myself rooted to the ground in fear. I couldn't bring myself to tear my eyes away from the monitor, so I watched the elevator door slowly open once again. The guest walked out just the same as he walked in. He had the same chipper smile on his face, I watched as he walked from the front desk, past the lobby and the pool and the laundry room all the way to the gym. I was out the door my way, never coming back again before I could see him enter. I'm riding this in my car a few miles away from the hotel because I couldn't stand to go home yet, but I figured I should make my own version of events public just in case. I know that man running the treadmill right now, and my coworkers, whoever else comes to the hotel next, is going to have to deal with what I went through all over again, but I could not bring myself to care. I even feel too claustrophobic to stay inside my car at this point after spending so long in the back office. My legs are still shaking. Only thing I want to do right now is run as fast and as far away as I can. I was followed by a car in the Nevada desert. I bring this story up during family meetings, talking to new people, or just as a good conversation starter. However, it has always terrified me since. I always end up joking about it. Probably not the most healthy response, but whatever. It all started in June of 1986. Can't really remember the exact date, but from everything that happened after, no wonder I can't remember it. I was at a gas station in the middle of nowhere. The guy who filled up my gas was nice, but our conversation was interrupted by the first appearance of the vehicle. It was barreling down the highway, and it skidded into the gas station. The guy wished me luck as I got into my car. I had a sedan. The car was a Cadillac. It was matte black. All of its windows were blacked out too. I wish I could remember its number plate, but I just can't. Although I do remember that it was black and yellow. That driver was probably scorched in that car. It was nearly 100 degrees that day. After driving off about a mile from the gas station, I saw it approaching in my rear view. It was moving fast. It slowed as it reached the back of my sedan. It began to honk angrily and kept revving its engine behind me. I waved my hand out the window, signaling for it to go past. It sped around my car and then it slowed down. I was pissed, so I began to honk back. It honked back and I sped forward. I brushed it off soon after as I couldn't see it after it went over a small hill the road was on. Turns out it wasn't done. I came up to another gas station a few hours away from the other. It was a lot darker now, still bright but not like noon was. I pulled in, needed gas and a snack. The little things, you know. I saw it again. 2 others were there too. One was leaving, the other one was just getting his filled up. A green station wagon. A woman was sitting in it. The owner was wearing a fedora. I stopped in the space between the Cadillac and station wagon. I began to talk to the guy with the fedora. I told him about the road rage incident. He laughed. I started to laugh to the Cadillac, but the Cadillac spoke up. I started to laugh too, but the Cadillac spoke up. It kept honking, louder than before. The man with the fedora walked over and tapped on the window. It kept going. I remember how deafening it was. Fedora Man tried to open the door, but it suddenly swung open and knocked Fedora Man over. The gas man and the woman looked over shocked. I ran over and tried to help. The Cadillac sped away. Fedora Man was okay. I told him to call the police. I don't think it was too illegal, but he did disturb the peace, so maybe I don't know. Fedora Man left. I got my gas, and I left. Another few hours passed, and it was dark now. I had my headlights on. They barely lit up the road, but they were my only source of light until 2 headlights appeared from behind me. I already knew who it could be. That bastard Cadillac. It was mad, very mad. You could tell by the fact it was trying to run me off the fucking road. I don't even know what I did wrong. Anyways, it was scraping the back of my car. It also blew out one of my headlights during the attack. I then got up on my side and began to ram into my car. I was terrified, as anyone should be, from a muscle car trying to send them flying off the road, and I did my best in order to prevent myself from crashing. However, after a solid 10-minute battle between 2 cars, I crashed into a telephone pole. The Cadillac flew down the road, and I never saw it again after. I did see some news stories from 1997 and 2005 and 2015, but nothing after that. I'm convinced I encountered a monster on the road that night. I'm still surprised I'm alive, but even more surprised that the car might still be out there, running people off the road, probably killing a few. I hope I never see the evil mass of black metal ever again, and I hope you don't either. Since we moved to our new house, my girlfriend thinks we are being watched. It all started when I burst. Since we moved to our new house, my girlfriend thinks we're being watched. It all started when I bought my first ever house. I was in my late 20s, so you can imagine how happy I was. It was a beautiful house in the suburbs. The outside walls are made of exposed brick, something I personally like a lot. And there was plenty of space, 2 bedrooms, both of them with double beds, a modern kitchen, a big living room, 2 bathrooms, a basement with an attic. Beautiful stuff. My girlfriend at the time was uncertain about whether she would move in with me or not, since she'd have to quit her job. I found this house on Facebook at a surprisingly cheap price, but since it looked good, I really didn't think much before sending a message to the realtor. We visited the house a few days later, and I was certain about buying it before even entering. The realtor was so nice to me and showed me around, telling me all about the inside of the house. He asked me a few questions like if I'd live alone, if I had children, if I was new in town. It seemed a little bit too personal, but I thought he was just making conversation. The house was furnished, so I thought if I'd have to pay for all the furniture, but no. He told me that the previous owners left it behind after a divorce, and the laziness to decide who takes what. I hope to achieve this level of richness someday. The basement was kind of small and had a bunch of old things like empty food, cans on a metal shelf, and boxes filled with school books. The realtor told me about a mouse and spider infestation down here and how none of the owners ever managed to fix it. I don't care at all and doubted I'd even come down there. When we got upstairs, I noticed something. There were cameras around the house. I asked the realtor about it, and he assured me the cameras never worked and were installed by one of the first residents who had kids. 3 kids to be exact. Again, I didn't mind, especially when he pointed to some cut and bare wires hanging from cameras. I ended up buying it and even received a first house discount, as the realtor called. I was so happy. I quickly brought some of the furniture I had at my parents' house and moved there. My girlfriend ended up joining me after some weeks, and that looked like the perfect house to start a family in. We were loving the experience of living together. She'd make us lunch, I'd make us dinner. We had a good sleep every night. When we lived with our parents, both of us had single beds, which made sleeping together kind of uncomfortable, and made our own rules. Everything was lovely until our 3rd week living there. My girlfriend woke me up in the middle of the night saying she heard a noise downstairs. I got up in our bed. My girlfriend woke me up in the middle of the night saying that she heard a noise downstairs. I got up and lit our bedroom light, trying to calm her down. She was positive she heard something that sounded like a knock on a window. Me, as the supportive boyfriend, got downstairs to prove her that there was nothing to worry about. It was a tree branch. I started laughing and even took a video of the sound it made. I assured her that she didn't need to be paranoid and that I'd always protect her, even from a tree branch. I caressed her head until we both fell asleep. I knew nothing was up, but for some reason I felt like she kept trying to convince me that it was just a tree branch. I knew nothing was up, but for some reason I felt that she just kept trying to convince me that it wasn't a tree branch. After that night, some of my things started to go missing, like a single sock, some ties, my deodorant, and even some of my underwear. I knew she was the one hiding them, so I didn't say anything because if I looked concerned, she'd win this little game. Another night, my girlfriend woke me up, but this time she heard footsteps nearby our bedroom, and I told her it was nothing, but she insisted. I again got out of bed and opened our bedroom door. Nothing was there, but after I showed her the empty corridor, we both heard footsteps coming from the first floor. She started screaming and crying and even hid under the bed. I locked her door and quickly got downstairs, turning on all the lights and examining every part of the house. I found nothing. I got upstairs and asked her what that was all about. She ended up confessing that when she was a child, 3 men broke in her house and kept her whole family hostage while they stole a bunch of things and even threatened to kill them if they didn't shut up. One of the men held a gun to my girlfriend's head. That's where all the trauma comes from. I held her close and promised that this would never happen to us. The next day, I called the locksmith to install 2 more locks on the front and back door, an alarm system to warn us if anyone came near my house, and even put bars on everyone to prevent anyone from breaking in. All of this made my girlfriend feel safer, and it showed. I think everything went clean after I installed all of that. Some things kept going missing, but I was probably being inattentive. So my girlfriend stopped listening to things inside the house at night. She's a lot more happy and hopeful about starting her family in her house. I love her so much. We went to the basement to inspect if there was anything we could turn that room to, because it was actually kind of cozy. We only had to throw some things away, like the food in the boxes, She said I could do some kind of man cave. She said I could do some kind of man cave since I love playing video games, but I suggested a playroom for our future kids, and she loved the idea. She kissed me on the lips and told me how excited she was. On that day, I knew I'd make her my wife as soon as possible. I waited a few days to propose because I wanted to make something impressive. I bought the engagement rings and the little box they came in inside of a teddy bear. I brought my girlfriend on a trip to Paris. I bought the engagement ring and had the little box that came in inside of a teddy bear. I brought my girlfriend on a trip to Paris. It had a zipper on its back, so I just hid the little box inside the foam and put it back to its place. I waited a few days to propose because I wanted to make something impressive, like go on a trip with her or take her to a restaurant we met. I think 2 weeks had passed since I bought the rings, and me and my girlfriend were chilling on the couch, almost getting to the finale of Game of Thrones. And I was sleepy as hell. I told her I was almost falling asleep and that she could watch it alone, and she agreed. Made her popcorn before going to bed and kissed her on the lips goodnight. I woke up with a scream downstairs. My girlfriend's scream, followed by a loud steps and finally a door slam, and then silence. I freaked out, started screaming, calling her. I looked at the living room from the top staircase. The popcorn bowl was empty and there was no sign of her. I called the police immediately, my fingers shaking so much I could barely dial the right number. I sat in the grass front of my house and waited for them to come. The police came surprisingly quick. While one of them searched the house, the others asked me about what happened. I had nothing to explain. Someone just kidnapped my girlfriend out of nowhere. That's all I knew. The other officer near us told me there was no sign of a break-in and asked me if the front door was locked when I came outside to wait for them, which I said yes. They asked if she had sleepwalked. No. If someone had the keys. No. If someone would have been any reason to hurt my girlfriend. No. If someone could be frogging, but that seemed absurd and I would have noticed that by now. After all these questions, they said they had no reason to believe she was abducted and told me that she could have gotten angry about something I did and wanted to take a break. If she didn't actually come back soon, I should call them again. They just left. That made my blood boil. Anyone with a brain would realize that no one fucking storms out in the middle of the night. I heard a scream. I heard loud footsteps. Someone must have picked the lock, or maybe someone had a copy of the keys that didn't make any fucking sense. But if someone was actually inside my house, I'd take the whole day to search for the evidence. A single strand of hair. Even anything. I needed something that could prove I wasn't crazy. I turned every room upside down, in the fucking bathrooms. No sign of anyone other than me and her. I thought I was going insane. Really. I climbed the stairs to the attic. I've never gone there, so it made my heart pound even faster. It was a dark and claustrophobic room without any window. I illuminated the room with my cell phone's flashlight, but I couldn't find anything to get concerned with. Just a couple more boxes and furniture covered in fucking plastic. And then something stood out. A beautiful painting of some dude. There were hearts all around his face like it had been done by a lover. I started to sob so hard, I fell on my knees. What if she did left me? What if the police were right? What if she did leave me? What if the policemen were right? Got out of the attic, going to the living room once again. Fell on the couch defeated. I looked at her photographs hanging on the walls and photo frames on the side of the TV. I got up to reach a teddy bear from Paris and hugged it like it was her. My heart immediately froze. I couldn't feel the ring box. I opened the zipper on its back and noticed the box and the rings were gone. What the fuck? That changed everything. This wasn't just a fucking coincidence. Someone stole the rings, and I'm sure it wasn't her because we talked about it. That gave me the gas to keep searching for her. The last stop was the basement, and it got even dustier than the last time I came here. I opened the boxes, tried moving steps, and examined the floor with my cell phone flashlight. I looked at every corner, every single part of the ceiling, and when I pointed the flashlight to the metal shelf, I noticed that some parts of it were completely clean, even though most of it was covered by dust. I tried to keep calm. I needed to find my girlfriend. When I squatted to examine the lowest shelf, I saw it. A door. A little door around 4 feet, looking like it wasn't intended to be found. There were a lot of things on the shelf, that's why I never saw anything. My heart started racing and I felt like I was going to faint at any moment. I moved the shelf to the side and got to the front door. I got in front of the door. I was almost 6'1". I knew I'd have to crawl. I know this sounds insane. I know I should have just gone upstairs and called the police, but I swear my adrenaline was so spiked I couldn't stop. I opened the little door. When I got up from the floor, my jaw dropped. There was a house inside that little door. It looked exactly like one of those studio apartments. There was a bed, a small kitchen, a TV, a couch, a horizontal freezer in a separate room that was probably a bathroom. Someone was living inside my house. All the walls were filled with pictures of me. All of the walls. Hundreds of fucking pictures. Pictures that I'm asleep. Pictures I'm naked. Pictures I'm just walking. Pictures of me smiling. No pictures of my girlfriend. What the fuck is this? I'm so fucking sick joke of hers. I actually thought for a second that this was just a prank and she'd propose herself with the rings. For a moment I felt relieved that until behind me, I saw a canvas with the painting and me almost finished, filled with a bunch of hearts just like the painting I saw in the attic. At that moment, I heard the sound of a toilet being flushed. I ran like crazy towards the little door, not looking back. Someone was coming from that fucking bathroom towards me. I could hear the loud steps like I just heard the night my girlfriend went missing. I crawled and managed to get out of the room, so I kicked the little door in on the top of my stairs as quickly as I could. I looked back just for a second. I saw his face. He was passing through the little door, looking at me with a giant smile and wide eyes. It was terrifying. I quickly locked the basement door and 911. They came quick. I didn't hear anything from the basement, which I waited. I quickly locked the basement door and dialed 911. They came quickly. I didn't hear anything from the basement while I waited. But maybe that's because I was breathing so loud I couldn't even hear my fucking thoughts. The police went to the basement, found him lying on the bed. They took him in handcuffs. He had black, long hair, was completely pale, really hairy and around 5'9" and kind of fat. He had a smile on his face the whole time, and he kept staring at me, licking his lips. I was disgusted by the fucking creature. I noticed he was wearing one of the engagement rings I bought. He was the one who stole it. They put him inside the police car. When I looked at him, I saw he was kissing the blurry window, looking back at me. He kissed it with his white tongue. Look, I threw up on the grass, disgusted. I wanted to kill him with my bare hands. When the officers came and told me if I knew that dude had access to the cameras. I told them that the realtor told me they'd never work, but the others said otherwise. The basement TV showed the view of all the cameras on the house, and that's why this man knew what we were doing and when we were asleep. We realized the realtor could have done something to do with all this, but that required some more investigation. Some officers came from the basement carrying what looked like a body wrapped in plastic. I never prayed so hard this body was anyone else, but not my girlfriend. I started tearing up when I saw it. I asked to see the body. It was her, my lovely girlfriend, completely frozen. Her body was covered in blood stains and wounds. I lied on the grass and cried like someone was stabbing me. I should have listened to her when she said something was off about this house. She moved out when I had the chance. My whole world was shattered at that moment. Some time had passed since the incident, and my therapist insisted I should share my story with other people, serving as a way to vent and to warn others. But I want to give some closure. Turns out this man has done this multiple times. The police found evidence of more than 3 crimes in his part of the basement. He always fell in love with the man and killed the girlfriend and wife, and I sincerely don't know how the police never found him. The killer was presumed dead when he was only 10 years old. Apparently died in a car accident with his parents. As the police report said that his brother was the only survivor. He was living there for more than 30 years. And, he was living there for more than 30 years, and you know who knew about this? The realtor, his own brother. He was the one attracting victims so his psycho brother could have some fun. Funny thing is, I didn't even mention that my girlfriend would move in. Does that mean he just wanted to kill me, seduce me? I have no clue and never will. Also, the realtor ran away when his brother got arrested and is still missing to this day. I still blame myself for it. I still wish I'd done it all differently. Here I am, opening myself up to a bunch of strangers online. I only have a few lessons to share with you. Take them seriously. Always suspect good properties at a ridiculously low price. Always suspect good properties at a ridiculously slow price. And above all, listen to what your partner has to say. And take them seriously. If I believe what my girlfriend had to say, she could still be here with me.